my dear wonderful friends. Tonight I shall share with you the most powerful secret in all of creation, how to speak to yourself in a way that will completely transform your world in just 3 days. Not in 3 months, not in 3 years, but in 3 days. For you see, the power of your inner conversation is absolute, and it is the only true creative power in the universe. Now, when I tell you to talk to yourself, I am not speaking of the idle chatter that most engage in throughout their day. I speak of that inner conversation that is deliberate, conscious, and aligned with your desired state. For your inner conversation is your consciousness externalized, and your consciousness is God. Consider the words of Scripture. In the beginning was the Word. These words are not speaking of some external deity's utterance. They speak of your inner word, your inner conversation. For you are the operant power, and your inner conversation is the word that creates all things. Many of you come to me asking, Wayne, how long must I wait to see my desires manifest? And I tell you now, give yourself 3 days of proper inner conversation, and you will see your world begin to transform. For 3 is the number of completion in Scripture, and when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you set in motion forces beyond your current understanding. Let me share with you exactly how to conduct this inner conversation. First, you must understand that your inner conversation must be from the end. You do not speak of what you want to be true. You speak as though what you desire is already true. This is the great secret that most of the world has missed. When you wake in the morning of your first day, your inner conversation must be from the state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must be that of a wealthy person. If you desire health, your inner conversation must be that of a healthy person. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be that of someone who is deeply loved. But then, this is crucial, your inner conversation must feel natural. It must not be strained or forced, for feeling is the secret, and your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. Let me give you a perfect example from Scripture. When David spoke to Goliath, his inner conversation was not, I hope I can win, or I will try my best. His inner conversation was from the state of victory already achieved. This is why he could say with complete conviction, this day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand. Now, for these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation as though your life depends upon it, because it does. Every time you catch yourself engaging in inner conversation that contradicts your desired state, you must immediately revise it. This is not a suggestion. This is a command if you wish to see your world transform. Consider this. Every outer conversation you have is first an inner conversation. Every relationship you have is first an inner conversation. Every circumstance in your life is first an inner conversation. Therefore, by changing your inner conversation for just 3 days, you literally change the entire substance from which your world is created. Let me tell you how to structure your inner conversation throughout these 3 days. In the morning, your first inner words must be from the state of your wish fulfilled before you open your eyes, before you move a muscle. Engage in the inner conversation of the person you wish to be. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my abundant life. Money flows to me easily and continuously. I am surrounded by prosperity, but remember, these words must not be mere affirmations. They must be spoken with the feeling of knowing that they are already true. Throughout your day, your inner conversation must maintain the same level of conviction. When challenges arise, and they will arise, your inner conversation must remain steadfast. If someone speaks of lack, your inner conversation must be of abundance. If someone speaks of illness, your inner conversation must be of health. This is where most fail in their attempt to change their world. They allow their inner conversation to be pulled into the current circumstances rather than maintaining the conversation of their desired state. But I tell you now, circumstances have no power over your inner conversation unless you give them that power. For these 3 days, you must be relentless in maintaining your new inner conversation. When you walk down the street, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you eat your meals, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. Your inner conversation is the only reality. Everything else, absolutely everything, is a shadow of your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you literally create a new world. Many of you may be thinking, but Wayne, 3 days seems too short a time to change my entire world. Let me remind you of the story of Jonah. How long was he in the belly of the whale? 3 days. And after 3 days, he was transformed, and his world was transformed. This is not coincidence, my dear friends. This is law. 3 days of proper inner conversation is all that is required to set in motion the forces that will transform your world. But these must be 3 complete days, not 3 days of wavering between states. During these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation, not just in your waking hours, but as you fall asleep. For the last inner conversation you have before sleep is particularly powerful. It continues to echo through your subconscious mind throughout your sleep. Therefore, as you prepare for sleep during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be perfectly aligned with your desired state. If you desire a successful business, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my thriving business. My customers are delighted with our services. Profits increase continuously. But remember, and this is crucial, your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. It must feel as natural to have this conversation as it feels to speak of what you had for breakfast. This is where the power lies, not in the words themselves, but in the feeling of naturalness that accompanies them. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your outer conversations. Therefore, during these 3 days, you must be particularly vigilant about your outer conversations as well. They must align with your new inner conversation. If someone asks you how you are, your response must come from your desired state. If someone speaks to you about problems or difficulties, your response must come from your desired state. Your outer conversation must be a perfect reflection of your new inner conversation. Many of you may find this challenging at first. You may be tempted to engage in conversations about current circumstances rather than your desired state. But I tell you now, this is where your power lies, in maintaining your new conversation regardless of appearances. Consider the story of Jesus walking on water. What was his inner conversation? Was it about the impossibility of walking on water? Was it about the danger of the storms? No. His inner conversation was from the state of mastery over all natural laws, and his outer world had to conform to this inner conversation. During these 3 days, you must maintain the same level of conviction in your inner conversation. You must speak to yourself as though your desired state is already your reality, not as though it will be, not as though it might be, but as though it is. Let me share with you how to handle doubts when they arise during these 3 days, and they will arise. When a doubt appears in your mind, do not fight it. Instead, immediately revise your inner conversation. If you catch yourself saying inwardly, this isn't working, immediately revise it too. Everything is working perfectly. My world is transforming now. This revision must be immediate and complete. You cannot allow doubt to linger in your inner conversation. For remember, your inner conversation is the only reality. Therefore, a doubting inner conversation will create a doubting outer reality. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be dominated by gratitude. Not gratitude for what you hope will come, but gratitude for what is already yours in your desired state. This gratitude must be part of your inner conversation throughout the day. When you wake in the morning, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you go about your daily activities, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your inner states, and your inner states create your outer world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of wealth consciousness. If you desire health, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of health consciousness. If you desire love, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of being loved. Many of you may be wondering what to do if you slip in your inner conversation during these 3 days. Let me be very clear, you must not condemn yourself. Instead, immediately revise the conversation. Remember, you are training yourself to maintain a new inner conversation, and like any training, it requires practice. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary focus. Every other activity must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation, for you are literally recreating your world through this conversation. Let me share with you how to structure your inner conversation for specific desires. If you desire a new home, your inner conversation might be, I love living in my beautiful new home. Everything about it is perfect for me. If you desire a promotion, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my new position. It's everything I desired and more. But remember, these are not mere words. They must be accompanied by the feeling of living in that new home, the feeling of working in that new position. Fulfilling is the secret, and your inner conversation must generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be specific. Vague inner conversation creates vague results. Therefore, speak to yourself with clarity about your desired state. Be specific in your inner conversation about what you are grateful for, what you are experiencing, what you are enjoying in your desired state. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your self-concept, and your self-concept creates your world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about who you are, not just what you have. If you desire success, your inner conversation must be about being a successful person, not just about having success. If you desire abundance, your inner conversation must be about being an abundant person, not just about having money. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be about being a loved person, not just about having a relationship. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be continuous. Not in the sense of constant chatter, but in the sense of consistent alignment with your desired state. Every time you become aware of your inner conversation, it must be from your desired state. Let me share with you how to maintain this continuity. Set reminders for yourself throughout the day. Every time you look at your watch, every time you eat a meal, every time you enter a room, let these be triggers to check your inner conversation. But remember, your inner conversation must not be mechanical. It must be aligned with feeling rich with the emotion of your desired state, for it is the feeling that gives power to your inner conversation. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be sovereign. You must not allow anyone or anything to dictate your inner conversation, not circumstances, not other people's opinions, not past experiences. Nothing must have power over your inner conversation except you. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your expectations, and your expectations create your experience. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create the highest expectations of good for yourself. Many of you may be thinking, but Wayne, what if my desired state seems impossible? Let me remind you, nothing is impossible to your inner conversation. Your inner conversation is God in action, and to God all things are possible. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about possibility, not probability. You must speak to yourself from the state of your wish fulfilled. Regardless of how probable or improbable may seem to your rational mind, let me share with you how to handle apparent failures during these 3 days. If something happens that seems to contradict your desired state, your inner conversation must remain unchanged. You must speak to yourself as though the seeming failure is actually part of the perfect unfolding of your desire. Remember, your inner conversation is creating your reality, not the other way around. Therefore, no external circumstance has the power to change your inner conversation unless you give it that power. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant companion. It must be the lens through which you view every experience, the filter through which you interpret every event, the standard by which you measure every circumstance. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your belief system, and your belief system creates your reality. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must consistently reinforce the beliefs that support your desired state. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be a perfect reflection of the person you wish to be. You must speak to yourself as that person would speak. Think as that person would think. Feel as that person would feel. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of consciousness. When you catch yourself speaking from your old state, immediately ask yourself, how would I be speaking to myself if I were already the person I wish to be? Then revise your inner conversation accordingly. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about what is not, what was, or what might be. You must speak to yourself in the present tense from the state of your wish fulfilled. This is crucial for the manifestation of your desire. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your future, but it does so by creating your present. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must make your desired future your present reality. Many of you may be wondering what will happen after these 3 days. Let me tell you, if you have maintained the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you will have set in motion forces that must result in the manifestation of your desire. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary tool for creation. Every other method, every other technique, every other approach must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation. Let me share with you how to know if your inner conversation is correct. If it feels natural, if it feels real, if it feels true, even in the face of contrary evidence, then your inner conversation is correct. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be protected like a precious jewel. You must guard it against doubt, against fear, against negativity, for your inner conversation is the very substance from which your world is created. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with yourself creates all other relationships. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must reflect the highest, most loving relationship with yourself. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your sacred practice. You must treat it with the same reverence that a priest treats his prayers, that a scientist treats his experiments, that an artist treats his creations. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of devotion. See your inner conversation as your direct connection to the creative power of the universe. For that is exactly what it is, your consciousness in action, creating your world. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant reminder of who you really are, the operant power in your world, the creator of reality, the God of your uniqueness. And that, my dear friends, is how you must talk to yourself for 3 days if you wish to transform your world. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but consistently, continuously, constantly. For your inner conversation is the Word of God in action, and it cannot return void. Remember this, your world is your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, guard your inner conversation for these 3 days, as though your life depends upon it, because it does. So what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue with your old inner conversation, creating the same results you've always created? Or will you begin today, this moment, to maintain a new inner conversation that must create a new world? The choice is yours, but the law is absolute. Your inner conversation creates your reality. Therefore, speak to yourself for 3 days as though your desires are already fulfilled, and watch your world transform. That's the message I want to leave you tonight. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. Not because it's simple, but because it's powerful. Not because it's what you expected to hear, but because it's what you needed to hear. Remember, 3 days of proper inner conversation will transform your world every single time. And isn't that worth thinking about? My dear friends, imagine standing before a vast, infinite ocean of possibility. This ocean, my beloved, is your consciousness, boundless, eternal, and ever responsive to your deepest beliefs and assumptions. Tonight we shall embark on a journey together, a journey into the very heart of creation itself. Our destination, a state of unwavering faith in the perfection of all things, a state where you act as if everything always works out for you. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Wayne, how can I possibly act as if everything always works out when my current reality shows me otherwise? And to you, I say this, your current reality is but a shadow, a reflection of past thoughts and beliefs. It holds no power over your future unless you grant it such power. The world you see is a world that was. The world you will inhabit is the world you are imagining now. Consider for a moment the words of that brave teacher who said, "All things are possible to him who believes." These are not mere words of comfort, my friends. They are a profound truth, a law as immutable as gravity itself. For in this universe, belief is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When you truly believe, when you act from the conviction that all is working out for your highest good, you set in motion forces beyond your current comprehension. Let me share with you a principle that once grasped will revolutionize your entire existence. It is this: the world is yourself pushed out. Every person, every circumstance, every event in your life is but an outpicturing of your own consciousness. When you change the content of your consciousness, when you alter your deep-seated beliefs about the nature of reality, the entire world must conform to this new pattern. So how does one begin to act as if everything always works out? It starts, my dear listeners, with a shift in perception. Instead of seeing the world as a place of struggle and strife, begin to see it as a playground of infinite possibility. Instead of viewing challenges as obstacles, see them as opportunities for growth and expansion. This is not mere positive thinking. This is a fundamental restructuring of your relationship with reality itself. Imagine for a moment that you are an actor on a grand stage. The play is your life, and you have been given a role to play. Now, what if I told you that you are not just the actor, but also the playwright, the director, and even the audience? What if I revealed to you that you have the power to rewrite the script at any moment, to direct the flow of events according to your deepest desires? This, my friends, is the essence of acting as if everything always works out for you. It is the recognition that you are the author of your own story, the creator of your own destiny. When you truly internalize this truth, when you allow it to permeate every fiber of your being, you will find that the universe itself conspires to bring about your good. But let me be clear. This is not about denying the existence of challenges or pretending that difficulties do not arise. Rather, it is about maintaining an unshakable faith that all things, all events, all circumstances are working together for your ultimate benefit. It is about trusting in the perfect unfolding of your life's journey, even when the path ahead seems uncertain or fraught with obstacles. Consider the life of Joseph in the biblical narrative. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned. He could have easily succumbed to despair, but Joseph maintained his faith. He acted as if everything was working out for him, even in the darkest of circumstances. And lo and behold, those very circumstances that seemed to spell his doom became the stepping stones to his ultimate triumph. You see, my dear friends, when you act as if everything always works out for you, you align yourself with the very creative power of the universe. You tap into a wellspring of infinite wisdom and intelligence that knows far better than your limited human mind how to bring about your highest good. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Wayne, how can I maintain this attitude when everything around me seems to be falling apart? And to you, I say this, your outer world is but a reflection of your inner assumptions. If you persist in the assumption that all is well, that all is working out for your highest good, then that must become your experience. Remember, the human imagination is not bound by the constraints of physical reality. In your imagination, you can be, do, or have anything you desire. And as you persist in imagining the ideal outcome, as you continue to act as if everything always works out for you, you will find that your outer world begins to reshape itself to match your inner vision. Let me share with you a technique that I have found immensely powerful in cultivating this state of being. Before you sleep each night, review your day as if everything had worked out perfectly. See in your mind's eye each event, each interaction, each circumstance resolving in the most favorable way possible. Feel the joy, the relief, the profound gratitude that accompanies this perfect unfolding of events. As you drift off to sleep in this state of perfect contentment, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind the true seat of creative power, the belief that everything always works out for you. And as you continue this practice night after night, you will find that your waking experiences begin to mirror your nightly imaginary acts. But remember, my friends, this is not about escaping into a fantasy world. It is about recognizing the true nature of reality, that the world of imagination is the real world, and the world of physical senses is but a shadow. When you act from this understanding, when you live from the state of knowing that everything always works out for you, you are not denying reality, you are creating it. Now let us delve deeper into the mechanics of this profound truth. Every experience you have ever had, every circumstance you have ever encountered, began first as a state of consciousness. Your beliefs, your assumptions, your habitual thoughts, these are the raw materials from which your reality is fashioned. When you adopt the state of consciousness that everything always works out for you, you are essentially tuning your mental radio to a frequency of perfect harmony and divine order. And just as surely as a radio receiver picks up the signals that match its frequency, so too will your life experience begin to reflect this new state of being. But here's the crucial point, my dear listeners. You must persist in this new state. You must be willing to ignore the evidence of your physical senses when they contradict your chosen assumption. This is where many falter on the path to mastery. They begin with great enthusiasm, declaring that everything always works out for them, but at the first sign of apparent failure or setback, they abandon their assumption and fall back into old patterns of thought. Remember, the physical world is always a few steps behind the world of imagination. There may be a time lag between your change in consciousness and its manifestation in your outer experience. During this period of transition, you must hold fast to your new assumption. You must continue to act as if everything always works out for you, even when your senses scream otherwise. This, my friends, is the true test of faith. Not a blind faith in some external power, but a deep, abiding faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. It is a faith that says, though the entire world may seem to conspire against me, I know that everything is working out for my highest good. Now let me address a question that often arises when I speak on this subject. Some ask, but Wayne, If I act as if everything always works out for me, won't I become complacent? Won't I lose my drive to improve and overcome challenges? To this I say, acting as if everything always works out for you does not mean sitting idly by and expecting the world to cater to your every whim. Rather, it means approaching every situation, every challenge, every trinity with an unshakable confidence in your ability to navigate it successfully. When you truly embrace this mindset, you'll find that your actions become more inspired, more purposeful. You'll be moved to take bold steps that you might have hesitated to take before. You'll find yourself rising to meet challenges with enthusiasm rather than dread, seeing them as opportunities for growth and expansion rather than obstacles to be feared. Moreover, the state of being naturally aligns you with what I call your high self, that aspect of you that is one with the divine creative power of the universe. From this alignment flows a wisdom and intuition that far surpasses the limited reasoning of the human intellect. You'll find yourself guided to take actions that lead to your highest good, often in ways that your rational mind could never have conceived. Let me illustrate this with a personal anecdote. Many years ago, when I first arrived in New York City, I found myself in dire financial straits. By all outward appearances, my situation was hopeless. But instead of succumbing to despair, I chose to act as if everything was working out perfectly for me. I imagined myself living in abundance, sharing my understanding of the law with eager audiences. Now, had I relied solely on my human intellect, I might have frantically searched for any job that would pay the bills. But acting from the state of knowing that all was well, I was guided to take a series of seemingly irrational actions. These actions, which made little sense to my rational mind at the time, ultimately led me to the very opportunities I had imagined for myself. You see, when you act as if everything always works out for you, you open yourself to a higher intelligence, a divine wisdom that knows exactly how to bring about your good in ways that your limited human mind cannot fathom. But let me be clear, this is not about wishful thinking or naive optimism. It is about aligning yourself with the fundamental creative principle of the universe. It is about recognizing that you are not a helpless victim of circumstance, but a powerful creator, shaping your reality through your consciousness. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Nebo, what about the really big problems in my life? Surely this principle can apply to everything and to you. I say, there are no big or small problems in the eyes of the infinite. The same power that can manifest a parking space can manifest a mansion. The same principle that can heal a paper cut can heal a terminal illness. The only limits that exist are the limits you place on your own imagination. When you truly grasp this, when you begin to act from this understanding, you'll find that the distinction between possible and impossible begins to blur. You'll start to see that the only true impossibility is that which you decree to be so in your own mind. Let me share with you another powerful technique for embodying this state of being. Throughout your day, whenever you encounter a situation that seems challenging or problematic, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, how would I approach this if I knew with absolute certainty that everything always works out for me? Feel the shift in your energy as you ask this question. Notice how your perspective changes, how solutions that were hidden before suddenly become apparent. This simple practice, performed consistently, can transform your entire life experience. But remember, my dear friends, this is not about denying or suppressing negative emotions. If you feel fear, anxiety, or doubt arising, acknowledge these feelings. Thank them for their intention to protect you. But then gently remind yourself of the greater truth. Everything always works out for you. As you continue to practice this, you'll find that these negative emotions begin to lose their grip on you. They may still arise, but they will pass through you like clouds in the sky. Unable to shake, you're seated, knowing that all is well. Now, let us address another aspect of this principle that is often misunderstood. Acting as if everything always works out for you does not mean that you will never face challenges or that your life will be free from apparent setbacks. Rather, it means that you approach these situations with a fundamentally different attitude. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth and expansion. Instead of viewing setbacks as failures, you see them as necessary course corrections on your journey to your desired outcome. This shift in perspective is crucial, for it allows you to maintain your chosen state of consciousness even in the face of pitiless. And remember, it is your state of consciousness that determines your future experiences. Consider the life of any great achiever. any person who has left an indelible mark on the world. Without exception, you will find that their path was strewn with challenges, setbacks, and apparent failures. But what set them apart was their unshakable faith in their ultimate success, their ability to act as if everything was always working out for them, even in the darkest of times. Take, for example, the Wright brothers. For years, they labored to achieve powered flight, facing ridicule, financial hardship, and countless failed attempts. But they persisted in their assumption that flight was possible, that all their efforts were leading them to success. And indeed, everything did work out for them in the end in a way that transformed the world. You see, my dear listeners, when you act as if everything always works out for you, you tap into a power that can move mountains. You align yourself with the very creative force of the universe, and in doing so, you become an unstoppable force of nature. But let me caution you, this is not about forcing outcomes or trying to control every aspect of your life. Rather, it is about surrendering to a higher wisdom, trusting in the perfect unfolding of your life's journey. It is about recognizing that the intelligence that beats your heart and grows your fingernails knows far better than your limited human mind how to bring about your highest good. When you truly embody this state of being, you'll find that you no longer need to struggle or strive in the way you once did. Your actions become more effortless, more inspired. You begin to flow with the current of life rather than constantly swimming against it. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Wayne, how can I maintain this state when the world around me seems so chaotic and unpredictable? And to you, the world around you is a reflection of your own consciousness. When you change your consciousness, when you steadfastly hold to the assumption that everything always works out for you, you will find that the world reshapes itself to match this new pattern. Remember, your consciousness is the only true causated power in your life. External circumstances, no matter how seemingly solid or unchangeable, are always secondary to your state of being. When you truly grasp this, when you begin to live from this understanding, you will witness what can only be described as miracles in your life. But let me be clear, this is not about ignoring problems or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about approaching these situations from a fundamentally different state of consciousness. It's about knowing deep in your bones that no matter what appears to be happening on the surface, everything is ultimately working out for your highest good. This knowing, this unshakable faith, becomes your anchor in the storms of life. It becomes the lens through which you interpret every event, every circumstance. And as you persist in this state, you'll find that the storms themselves begin to calm, that the challenges that once seemed insurmountable begin to resolve themselves in ways you could never have anticipated. Now, let me share with you another powerful practice for embodying this state of being. Each night before you sleep, take a few moments to review your day. But instead of simply recounting the events as they occurred, reimagine them as if everything had worked out perfectly. See that difficult conversation with your boss transforming into a productive exchange that leads to new opportunities. Envision that financial setback resolving itself in a way that ultimately benefits you. Picture that health challenge leading you to discover a new level of vitality and well-being. As you fall asleep in this state of perfect contentment, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind the true seed of creative power, the belief that everything always works out for you. And as you continue this practice night after night, you will find that your waking experiences begin to align more and more closely with your imaginal acts. But remember, my friends, this is not about escaping into fantasy. It is about recognizing the true nature of reality, that your imagination is the creative power of God within you, and that the world you experience is but an outpicturing of your own consciousness. When you act from this understanding, when you live from the state of knowing that everything always works out for you, you are not denying reality, you are creating it. You are exercising your divine right as a co-creator with the infinite. Now, let us delve even deeper into the mechanics of this profound truth. Every experience you have ever had, every circumstance you have ever encountered, began first as a state of consciousness. Your beliefs, your assumptions, your habitual thoughts, these are the raw materials from which your reality is fashioned. When you adopt the state of consciousness that everything always works out for you, you are essentially tuning your mental radio to a frequency of perfect harmony and divine order. And just as surely as a radio receiver picks up the signals that match its frequency, so too will your life experience begin to reflect this new state of being. But here's the crucial point, my dear listeners. You must persist in this new state. You must be willing to ignore the evidence of your physical senses when they contradict your chosen assumption. This is where many faults are on the path to mastery. They begin with great enthusiasm, declaring that everything always works out for them, but at the first sign of apparent failure or setback, they abandon their assumption and fall back into old patterns of thought. Remember, the physical world is always a few steps behind the world of imagination. There may be a time lag between your change in consciousness and its manifestation in your outer experience. During this period of transition, you must hold fast to your new assumption. You must continue to act as if everything always works out for you, even when your senses scream otherwise. This, my friends, is the true test of faith. Not a blind faith in some external power, but a deep, abiding faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. It is a faith that says, though the entire world may seem to conspire against me, I know that everything is working out for my highest good. As you cultivate this faith, as you persist in the act from the state of knowing that everything always works out for you, you will begin to witness what can only be described as miracles in your life. Doors that seem forever closed will suddenly swing open. Resources that you never knew existed will make themselves available to you. People will appear in your life at just the right moment to assist you on your journey. But remember, these are not miracles in the traditional sense of the word. They are simply the natural outworking of the law of consciousness. They are the inevitable result of aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. Now, let me address a concern that often arises when I speak on this subject. Some worry that acting as if everything always works out for them might lead to a kind of passive acceptance of undesirable circumstances. They fear that they might lose their drive to improve their lives or to right the wrongs they see in the world. To this I say, nothing could be further from the truth. When you truly embody the state of knowing that everything always works out for you, you become more empowered, not less. You approach challenges with confidence rather than fear. You take inspired action rather than reacting from a place of desperation or anxiety. Moreover, this state of being naturally aligns you with your highest purpose. You begin to see the bigger picture, to understand how even apparent setbacks are serving your ultimate good and the good of all. From this perspective, you are moved to take actions that are truly in alignment with your deepest values and aspirations. Consider for a moment the great change makers of history, the men and women who have brought about significant positive changes in the world. Without exception, you will find that they acted from a place of unshakable faith in the rightness of their cause. They persisted in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds because they knew deep in their hearts that everything was working out for the highest good. Martin Luther King Jr., for example, faced violence, imprisonment, and constant threats to his life. Yet he continued to act from the assumption that the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. He lived as if everything was working out, not just for him personally, but for the entire civil rights movement. And indeed, his faith was vindicated, though he did not live to see the full fruits of his labor. You see, when you act as if everything always works out for you, you tap into a power that is greater than your individual self. You become a channel for the divine creative force of the universe, and in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you become a catalyst for positive change in the world around you. But let me be clear, this is not about becoming complacent or accepting injustice. It is about approaching every situation, no matter how challenging, from a place of empowered faith rather than fear or despair. It is about knowing that you have within you the power to overcome any obstacle, to right any wrong, to create any reality you can imagine. As you continue to practice this way of being, you'll find that your very presence becomes a transformative force in the world. People will be drawn to your unwavering faith, your unshakable peace. They will sense, perhaps unconsciously, that you are tapped into a higher wisdom, a deeper truth. And as you share this truth with others, as you demonstrate through your own life that everything always works out, you become a beacon of hope in a world that so desperately needs it. You become living proof of the infinite potential that lies within each and every human being. Now, my dear friends, as we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a final thought. The principle we have explored tonight, that everything always works out for you, is not just a nice idea or a comforting belief. It is a fundamental truth of existence, a law as immutable as gravity itself. But like any law, it requires your conscious participation to be effective in your life. You must choose, moment by moment, to align yourself with this truth. You must be willing to relinquish your old beliefs, your old patterns of thought, and embrace this new way of being. It may not always be easy. There will be times when your physical senses, your rational mind, and perhaps even those around you will tell you that things are not working out. In these moments, you must be willing to stand firm in your knowing. You must be willing to say, I do not accept the appearance of things. I know that everything is working out for my highest good, even if I cannot yet see how. As you persist in this practice, as you continue to act as if everything always works out for you, you will begin to witness a transformation in your life that can only be described as miraculous. You will find yourself moving through life with a sense of ease and grace that you may have never thought possible. You will discover within yourself resources of strength, wisdom, and creativity that you never knew you possessed. But more than this, you will begin to understand your true nature as a divine being, as a co-creator with the infinite. You will realize that you are not a helpless victim of circumstance, but a powerful creator shaping your reality through the power of your consciousness. And as you step into this power, as you fully embrace your role as a conscious creator, you will find that your life becomes a living testament to the truth we have explored tonight. You will become living proof that everything always works out, not just for you, but for all of creation. So go forth, my dear friends, with this knowing deep in your heart. Act as if everything always works out for you, for indeed it does. Trust in the perfect unfolding of your life's journey, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. Know that you are guided, supported, and loved beyond measure by the very creative power of the universe itself. And remember, the world is waiting for you to step into your power, to shine your light, to demonstrate through your own life the miraculous truth that everything always works out. The world is waiting for you to become the person you were always meant to be, a conscious creator, aligned with the infinite, living a life of joy, purpose, and boundless possibility. Thank you, my dear friends, for your attention and your willingness to explore these profound truths. May you go forth and live from the knowing that everything always works out for you. And in doing so, may you inspire others to do the same. For as you transform your own life, you transform the world. And that, my beloved, is the greatest miracle of all.